On the Subai Plus website, we added a lot of secret Easter eggs to this. So for instance, you can click on all of these balls and they will actually collide against each other. You can drag all of these things around in space and they will spin. But one thing that people really seem to love was this little color picker, which is this little secret one down here. So as you drag, you can change the whole theme of the website. Now, I was the person that actually added the feature for this theme. So what we're going to do today is show you how to make this. Now, what we're going to be doing is something like this, where we have pretty much the same effect. Here, what we're doing is we're changing the entire theme. So in today's video, I'm going to show you how to make your own color picker from scratch. So at the moment we have a project that looks like this. Basically, we've got our site styled, but at the moment our color picker isn't really working. Now, one thing let's quickly just clarify, this isn't really a color picker, it's really a hue picker because we're not really changing anything about the saturation or the lightness or the brightness of anything here. It's just the actual hue here. So we're going from red to yellow to green to blue. This is really controlling the hue itself. But how do we go about this? Now, let's have a look at our code. So our code, fairly straightforward, is simple HTML, simple CSS as well. We have a header with our input, which is a range. So this is a slider at the moment. This goes from a minimum of 0 to 360, and it's got a default value, which we'll come on to in a little bit. And then the rest of it is just pure HTML. So it's just paragraphs and some code blocks in here. Let's have a look at the style sheet. So in the style sheet, what I've done is set up some CSS variables, just to make this really easy to change colors on the fly. So for instance, we can see here that we've got 3 CSS variables, all of them colors. One is a background color, one is a primary color, which is currently blue, and a secondary color, which is currently used for the background of these code blocks and this line in the middle. So how do these work? If you've never seen CSS variables before, we can just set them as something like background color is var, and then dash dash the CSS variable. So for instance, if I want to change this, border top, so all of this stuff at the top to this color, I can just change it to the secondary color. Save, and this changes it very, very quickly. What we can do in here is basically change the CSS variables to be any color that we want. So for instance, if I want to change this to a red color, I can just pick this slider and go to a red and then save and then refresh. And what we see here is this updates anywhere that we're using this CSS variable. But you might notice as well that when we click here, this also is changing the hue. So we want to go up and down and pick the colors that we want, kind of what we're doing with the slider. So let's just pick something like a green for now, press save and refresh. We've got something that looks green. Now, we might notice that this gets quite hard to read, especially at certain colors. So especially at certain things like yellow. So let's pick a yellow color and save and refresh. This gets really hard to read. Now, the reason why this is hard to read is because this is using the HSL kind of style. This is basically picking this color, which is our default blue, and then what we're doing is just simply moving this over to change the hue. The lightness and the brightness, the saturation and lightness stay the same, but this gets really hard to read. So what can we do around that instead? Well, luckily for us, on the Chrome developer website, there's new color schemes that we can actually use. So if we scroll down this article, we can see all these different types. And what we might notice is we have this thing here. So what we've just basically done is gone from our blue color, which is down here, to a very bright yellow. This is using HSL, but there are other color schemes that we can actually use, such as LCH, which looks a little bit more lighter to the human eye. So it's a little bit kind of clearer what is going on here. It's a bit muddier, but then we can see that this would be actually a clearer color to read. So what we can do is actually switch to a different color scheme completely. And there's quite a lot in here as well. We can see everything from LCH, OK LCH, Lab, OK Lab. There's lots of these different types in here. What we're going to be using is one called OK LCH, which is a kind of corrective version of this. And there's actually a really good website if we look here called oklch.com, where we can basically pick and choose the colors. So I'm going to convert my colors from the current hex values into this OKLCH. So let's pick the first color that we had, which was this in hex, save. And what we can do is just put this in here. And what we'll see here is this is the blue that we say we want. And what we can see now is if we change the hue, notice that these colors seem a lot more readable. Now we can use this OKLCH in CSS. It's available for pretty much every browser. So for instance, if I want to pick this blue again, I'm just going to copy and paste that in. I can just replace my CSS variable with this. So I'm going to copy this and paste this in. So instead of this hex value or something like an RGB or something like an HSL, I can actually replace it with this OKLCH. I can save and refresh. And what we'll see now is this is the same blue. It's just a different representation of that blue. I can also do the same thing for my secondary color. So I'll go back to my changer and let's put this in. Gonna take this and paste this under here. Now this has quite a long value, so I'm just gonna make it simpler to see what is going on. Something like 0.3. And this hue, I'm gonna make the same. So let's save this and see what this looks like. If I go back to my site now, oop, did I remove something? This needs another value in here. Oh, I've got a hash at the start. Let's remove that. That would help. Save. And what we should see is the same color scheme. But now, if we notice, we've got this OK LCH. H stands for hue. Hue is the thing we actually want to update to change the color in here. So for instance, if I change this from 268.81 to something like 10 and 10 on both, this will change the hue, but it won't change anything else. So this looks pretty good. It's more red. If I want to change this to something like 100 and save, will look something that's a brownish color. So this is kind of similar to what we want with our color scheme because we want this to be fairly readable as well. So this is the thing I'm actually going to change. I'm going to change basically this value from this, and this is the reason why we had this in the value here, to basically something we can control. At the moment, we're changing it ourselves as coders. We want our users to do this instead. How do we do this? We need a bit of JavaScript. So we're going to right click and add a new file, and I'm going to call this something like color.js. So this is a new file, but we're not really using it in my index.html page at the moment. So I want to do that next. In my index.html, I'm going to go down to the bottom, just before the close of the body tag, and add this new script in here. We need to give it a source, where does it live, src. This is going to be equal to, in quotes, color.js. I'm going to save. And now what we need to do is write some code in my color.js. So what do we want to do here? Well, let's think about this. In my index.html, I have this range tag, which kind of slides around. And what I want to do is update my CSS variable in :root. So what I need to do is pick two things. I need to pick my tag in here, and then I need to pick this thing in here to basically match them up. So that's the first thing I want to do. I'm going to first of all do a const called slider. Slider, again, a variable, I'm just making it up. So it could be called range, for instance. But this is going to be equal to something in document. Now, document is a special word in JavaScript. It means the page. Here, what I'm going to do on the document, using a dot, is a query selector, capital S on selector. Then in round brackets, I'm going to run this. What do I want to run? Well, I want to pick from my theme, my class theme, this input. So in quotes, dot theme space input. So this is just going to pick the slider. Now I also want to pick in my style sheet this :root to basically update it later on. So here I'm going to do const called root. Here this is going to be equal to, in my document, I'm going to do a query selector, and in brackets I'm going to do a string of root. So basically here I'm picking two things. I've got my slider and then my CSS variables area basically. Now what I want to do is when I move the slider, I want to update my root with these new updated hue and colors. So I'm going to add some more code. So on my slider, what I want to do is listen out for any updates. So on the slider, I'm going to do dot add event listener. Now event and listener have a capital in there, so just watch out. And in brackets, I'm going to do something. I'm going to run this. So what do we want to listen out for? Here I want to listen out for any input change. So I'm just going to write the word input in quotes. Now I also need to do something when the input has changed, which is run some code. So after this, I'm going to do a comma, and then I'm going to run a function. So there's two ways to run a function, round brackets, curly brackets. I can also do the round brackets, arrow, curly brackets. Here, doesn't really matter which one. This one looks a little bit neater, so I'm going to keep it as that. Now, I'm going to add some space in here just to kind of give it some room. What do I want to do? Well, when the slider updates, basically what happens on here is this value changes. This value changes from this one to 10, 100, all the way up to 360 potentially. So let's just pull that out. So here, I'm going to do a const called q. I'm doing this inside this function because this is always going to keep running. This function will change every single time I kind of move the slider. So these things up here don't change. Things in here will change. So here I'm going to make it equal to the sliders dot value. So the value of the slider at that moment it's been changed. What do we want to do? Oops, why did that change? There we go. What do we want to do after this? Well, I want to update my roots, and what I want to do in my roots is change the primary color in here. So how do we do this? Well, we want to change the style of this. So on the roots, I want to change the style. Now, by default, what we would usually do when we change a style sheet is say the property of that, such as background color or index, or z index, for instance, and then just do it in there. So, for instance, I do like z index is 1, for instance. But this isn't to do with an actual style of this. This is actually to do with a property because this is a CSS variable. It's not really to do with something that lives there already. So what I want to do is update this. So to update this, I'm going to use set property. Now, when we use some round brackets, it means run. What do you want to do? Well, I want to set something to something else. I want to set what thing? The primary color to a different OKLCH. So I'm going to do in quotes dash dash primary dash color. And what do we want to set it to? Well, we'll do a comma, and then in quotes, for now, I'm just going to write the word red. So we're going to save this, and let's see if this works. So what this is doing right now is saying, as soon as I touch the slider, and when I update the slider, it should change the primary color to red. Does this work? Let's see. We'll say, and as soon as we touch the slider, everything changes to red. So it is doing what we expect, but we don't want it to always be red. We want to use this hue to basically update our colors. So what we're going to do is get rid of red and the quote marks, and instead I'm going to put some backticks. Now, for some reason on my keyboard, the backticks are broken, the backtick key. So I literally just Googled backtick. I'm just going to pick this backtick mark in here. You should have it on your keyboard for most of the time. Why are we using this rather than quotes? Well, what we can do is put in a variable into the string here. The string is just some characters. I want to put some variables into this. Well, what we're going to do is in our style.css, I'm going to take this OKLCH all the way up to the last closing bracket and then paste this in here. And what I want to do is not have this hue as 268 all the time, but instead be the hue of the slider. So we're going to get rid of this 268.81 and replace it with a $, curly brackets, hue. So Q is just inserting this variable straight into here. Let's save this and see if it works. So now we'll refresh our page, and what we should see is our colors start to change. Now this looks pretty good, but you might notice here that our blues don't change as well. They're staying blue. So we also need to update our secondary color in here as well. So next line, we're going to do root.style.set property, and in round brackets, we're going to use the same as above, but with dash dash secondary color in here. Now, what do we want to save it to? Well, let's just take the one from above here. So comma as well, I need, and I'm just going to update the values based on my style sheet. So this is 94.45 and 0.03. The hue is going to stay and be changeable. Just going to paste this in here. Let's save. Let's see if this works. So we're going to refresh, and what we should see now is all of our CSS variables are now changing. They're going from red to this kind of like browny yellow color to a green to a kind of pink color at the end. So what we've done here is we've got something that connects the two variables up. We've got something that connects to the slider. We're changing this to be a color slider in here, and basically dragging it along. Now you can play with any of these things in here. You can change the hue, you can change the brightness, you can change any different things you want in here. But this is how you hook up things to basically connect a slider to CSS variables as well.